Hi everyone, I am back once again. Is it day three? I think day three of the festivities or whatever we want to call it, the events. I've got some great stuff today because I actually had two people ask very specific questions, and I'm going to answer their questions or show a demonstration on this webinar because actually it kind of fitted in with what I was going to be talking about. So pretty handy, really. So let's just talk very briefly about what we're going to do. So let me see if I can battle with the. Oh, did I put this as a graphic? Let me just see if I got the right one. Yes, I did. So this is today. Oops, well, the graphic doesn't quite fit, but hey, it works. Um, that's weird. What's that stretched out? Oh, I see. I see. Okay, hang on. It's because my name's in the way. There you go. So today we're going to have a little bit of a laugh, and that is that we are going to. Good. I'm glad you're watching, Paul. This is very important because you're going to have something shown today that's relevant to you. So today we're doing what I laughably call a cage fight. It's a bit like Robot Wars or whatever you want to call it, but it's AI Wars. And I'm actually going to compare Quen 3.8 versus Muse Glimmer, which is Meta or Facebook or Instagram, however you want to think of them as, Zuckerberg's team. That's their version versus Claude Opus, which is a remarkably powerful AI LLM, versus Gemma 4. So what I'm going to do is actually show a genuine comparison and also probably show a couple of statistics that are out there on the internet. And I'm also going to show a video of Kai doing a live project because I had a customer who was trying to do some local LLM stuff, and they got like a time of 1.5 hours or something. I'd need to check the actual details of the email, but to do a basic project. I don't know quite what's going on there, but I'm going to show you an 8-minute video that will actually show you creating a more than basic project and go from there. Tomorrow, all being well, Mr. FMX Express, if he comes up with the goods, otherwise I'm going to have to do it myself, is we've got a video of PasClaw. Now, PasClaw is a kind of free outside the IDE agentic agent. It does work with Kai, so it can talk to Kai and get Kai to do things as well. It drives Kai, but it also is an agentic hookup for coding. So it's a nice little project, and I believe it's completely free. But I'll let FMX Express guy tell you more about that. I do know his name, but I'm not quite sure if he wants to be associated with it quite openly. But anyway, he's a good guy, very, very smart coder. And also, all being well, depending on what happens this afternoon, I'm going to record myself a vibe coding a connection to BusyBar's API. Now, BusyBar, if you're not been paying attention, I'm just going to hide this for a second. BusyBar is this little device behind me that does this. It's a very cool device. I like it. I like stuff I can plug into the computer, and it's got an API. It's very, very new. I think it was a Kickstarter project or something like that, and it's so new that the app that they have, the mobile app, is still catching up with some of the features that they advertised. A little bit shady, but actually it's a very good project, and I paid for it and it arrived. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I thought it was a very interesting little project, and why not write a Delphi app or a C++ app that can talk to it? So that's what we're going to do tomorrow as well. So PasClaw, all being well, and talking to this device and making this device work with Delphi. It'll probably be more Delphi code than AI tomorrow, so that's a good thing. But I had a couple of things happen. Okay, so first of all, we had a customer, and let me just check if I have their. email. I probably can't find it. I'm not going to call out their name because obviously, we don't want to. Uh, Here we go. Yeah, so they tried. I think based on my advice, they tried Quen 3.8 27B LLM on their local setup, and they tested a simple prompt. They said, "Who is the 14th president of the United States?" Which is kind of like my one. My one is, who was the first king of England? And he said that worked. And then they tried that instance to create a simple Hello World program, and it took them 2 hours and 57 minutes to think and generate a simple Hello World console. That is not correct for me. There's something not right there. It's not anything they've done wrong. I'm just saying that there's some settings or something that isn't right, or their hardware is not so great. I don't know. It could be all sorts of reasons why that's happening. Because what I'm going to do is show you a video of actually something that is along those lines that does work. So let me just grab my videos thing. Where is my prompt that I got? No. Unfortunately, this thing is not labeling stuff properly, so I can't see what it is. Okay. So what I did was I asked the prompt. I asked the AI to create a simple application. Let's see if I can find it. No, I'm not going to be able to find it. And the application that what I asked it to do was to create a simple FTP server, and to create it in a folder, and to test it, make sure it works, and run it as a console app. So it's actually, weirdly enough, this email came in after I'd actually done that demo, but I am actually using a local model. Now, just to explain my setup, the machine I'm talking to you on right now is a Windows machine, and I have a NVIDIA graphics card. Now, this machine's 5 years old, I think. It's got 16 gig of RAM, so it's not very beefy. It has got an i7 processor, an Intel i7 processor. It has got an RTX graphics card, so it is a gaming graphics card, but I think it's only got 8 gig of RAM. I'm telling you that just so that you know what's going on. Now, down here, I have my microphone, which I can't show you very easily, but that's my mic, and that goes through that graphics card, and the graphics card does noise cancellation, so I can do this and you can't hear me clapping, and the RTX is doing that. It is also processing my video, and it is producing it, is recording it at 4K, but is outputting it to the channel at I think 2K. I'm not sure. I think it's doing portrait as well. Let me. Oh no, 1080p. Okay, so it's actually downsampling it to 1080p. It's not ideal. That's just a limitation of the broadcast platform. And if you see me leaning down here, it's because I'm giving my dog chews to keep him quiet. Wait. There you go. And sometimes, because I have a bright background behind me and Spock doing his thing, the AI picture handling can go a bit blurry. So I wouldn't want to run Quen or something like that, or Muse Glimmer or anything on this machine. So what I have is a Mac, and in fact, someone here is saying they have a Quen 3 via Olama on my kit, and it took about 4 minutes to do a Delphi class for me. So a bit slower than Copilot or Gemini, but still good results. I asked for a T-short GUID class. Thanks, Anthony. So yes, now I have over here, which you can't see, a MacBook Pro. Okay, and it is an M5 Pro. It's got 48 gig of RAM, I think. Now, Macs have unified RAM, so all of that RAM or most of that RAM is available to the graphics, but it's also available to the CPU. So it's used for processing and all that kind of stuff. And when I am connecting to it, I remote to it. I use Google Remote Desktop. So that's remotedesktop.google.com. I use that all the time. I've sat in hotels in Brazil with really kind of flaky Wi-Fi and remoted back to my machine over, back here in Dallas, and it's absolutely fine. It's encrypted and very well worth it. If you're looking for remote desktop, again, this is my personal recommendation. remotedesktop.google.com, absolutely brilliant. Takes a little bit of getting used to. It's a little bit quirky, but I've even sat there with a netbook on the Chromebook. I have a Chromebook that I take with me everywhere. It's got a 2K screen. It's an amazing Chromebook. It's Chromebook Plus, but I've used that to remote as well, back to servers and things like that. Absolutely fine. So Google Remote Desktop, yeah, I really like that. But the point I'm making is that when I'm demoing things to you, I'm remoting from my Windows machine to my Mac. Okay. And you would think that'd slow things down, right? Because he's got to do this remote video. I also have a very large 60-inch, I think, or greater 4K screen here that the Mac is driving. So it's driving a video here, and it's driving the 4K here. So I just wanted to go through that so that people understand what my setup is, and understand um, what my configuration would be. At the same time, on the Windows machine, I'm running this broadcasting software. Now we use Restream.io, brilliant package. I can do all these exciting things like, like put my email address down at the bottom of the screen when I point to the right place there, and I can do the QR codes up in the corner, and I can even do things like this where I can go bing, and I can make the QR code instantly change and then instantly change back. So the broadcast software is running. And I also have the RAD Studio IDE open on this machine. I have 3 screens. This screen here on my Windows machine is running, I think that's a 4K screen set at 2K, so you can better see what's going on. And I also, on the Mac, have Parallels, okay, which is a virtualization software, a VM, a virtual machine. And Parallels is running a full version of Windows ARM in the Parallel virtual machine, and that virtual machine is also running a full version of RAD Studio in it as well, at the same time as everything going on. And so what I did was and then this is my usual setup. This is how I have things set up. And I have Teams open, which is a monster. It eats the RAM like it's going out of fashion. I also have PowerPoint open. And again, PowerPoint is just a beast. It takes gigabytes of RAM if you even look at it. And a few other things as well. I think I've got WhatsApp. I have Everywhere open, which is my go-to app for finding everything. Snagit, and from TechSmith for Camtasia and so I have a lot going on, and I have also many browser windows open on this and on the Mac. I'm not using an optimal setup if I was coding. So for the poor customer who's having trouble, I think something's not quite right. And the thing that I find for local workloads is, I have to say it, a Mac for me is almost unbeatable. Now, on Friday, you're going to have Frank Lauter coming in. So it's not tomorrow, but the next day. So not the next session, but the final session. And Frank, he doesn't use a Mac. He has Windows machines, and he's got some fairly beefy machines, but he's going to talk about his setup and how he has everything running, because he has a combination of someone saying your whole roof is covered in solar panels to pay for the power. Yeah, actually, weirdly enough, the Mac is very good. it can run on batteries. Now, I wouldn't recommend running an AI workload on the batteries, but it can do that. I also have studio lights here as well. If I put my hands up, you can see how bright they are, just to make me visible. Plus, I've always got running in the background my Mortal Kombat thing, which because we have to be careful about what we put on YouTube, it's running Bubbles game. It can run Defender, but Defender flashes a lot. And when Defender flashes when the alien ship shoots it, it makes the video blurry. So I've chosen Bubbles because, Kai Wave and all the rest of it. But yeah, it does use a lot of power. My electricity bill, luckily I live in the United States, it's a lot lower than the UK, but it's still quite painful. So, ooh, I've gone blurry again. There you go. I pointed at too many things and the lights have happened. So I wanted you to get a picture of what's going on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a video of me genuinely using Kai. Now, the Kai that I am going to show in this video is a pre-release version. It is the next release that we hope is coming out shortly, as soon as we can. So the user interface might change. In fact, it's changed this week. I had one version earlier on, and it's already changed because we're waiting for a legal clearance, which is outside of our control. So we want to release it like now. We want to release it now, but unfortunately, we have a legal clearance that we cannot control. Actually, the next version of Kai will be 1.2, I think, is coming out. Not Kai 2, but yes, I think you're right. Kai version 2 is going to be interesting. Now, once this legal clearance is done, because we had one that stopped us for a while and then another one cropped up, we do intend to be much quicker with Kai. It's the nature of the game. AI is changing all the time. If you saw my video yesterday, you saw that we are now part of the ACP registry. We can list all of the ACP servers in there, so you can use Grok. For example, Grok build, a lot of people like that, and various others. I mean, we already support Cursor and a few other things, but with the ACP registry, which I'll show you live after I show this video, you'll see some stuff. So what I wanted to do was, first of all, show a video of Kai in action for real, like I say, using the 1.2 interface. So your interface is going to look a bit different. But the functionality, there are some issues that have been fixed and stuff like that. But it's still, this is a pre-release version. It's an alpha version for me because, I have a little bit of striking power in the company. But, the caveat here is it could change. Okay, so just bear with me. However, the actual what it's doing behind the scenes is still the same. So I went into RAD Studio and I asked it to create me a simple FTP server and a markdown document that it would then serve up on the FTP server. So that's the video that's coming up. And let's. What happened to my music? Well, you'll amongst yourselves. Someone mentioned in the chat they can hear the music super loud. I can only hear it very quietly. So what I've said is create a Delphi console project with the FTP server, and you can see the content there. Now I've deliberately left it asking questions, okay? Because I wanted you to see the process that goes on, but also, apart from one section where I had to cut something out that showed some confidential information, this is in real time. So I haven't speeded this up. There's no speeded up sections. I haven't cut out anything. Like the timing that you're watching now, how long this video takes, is actually real. And so it's going away and running a number of charge commands and asking to create some folders and to create some files for it. going off and doing that. Okay, yeah, I can do that. So I do this, can, all you what you can't see in the job, but I'm not doing is make sure you can do that. It's running a bunch of PowerShell commands, and those things you actually hear the music. I don't know if you can hear the music. They should be music. I don't know why it's muted. So it's realised that the Delphi project has turned out to be quite large, and I'm not sure why it does this, but it says it will clone it with name substitution. So it's already created that project, which I actually would say it should have done. And now it says, okay, well, okay, I'm gonna do some changes to the uses of web. I'm very quiet background music. How's that? Sorry about that. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. For me, I can't hear the music at all. It's in the foreground, not background. Oh, I see. I understand. I don't know. I mean, I'll talk about it in a minute. I will talk about it in a minute. I need to learn sign language. Better, he says. Sorry about that. So it's running these PowerShell commands, and I actually made a mistake there. One of the questions it came up was it said, should I do something? I actually clicked no by accident. So you'll see where that little cross is there. It is now carrying on. It actually coped with the fact that I made a boo-boo. I've literally got Kai set up into ask me and confirm everything. Nigel, I can't turn the music off. It's on the video. Let me turn it. I think that's 0 now. How about that? So now it's preparing the markdown file that I told it to create. And this is tool calling in the background. And this takes a while. And like I say, I wanted to make sure that what you would see would be the real thing, that that I'm not trying to speed it up. 0 music, excellent. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. I thought the music would help keep people happy. So it's done that. It's created what it needed to create, and it's still running some PowerShell things. So what it's done there is it actually made sure it put a GUID in the project, because this was something that Kai occasionally got wrong. Some of the AI, what Kai does is it knows common mistakes that the AI makes, any AI out there, large language models, and it copes with that. So what it actually does is it helps kind of make the AI get it correct. So it puts a GUID in the project, because a lot of the AIs don't do that for some reason. Claude and all the rest of it. I mean, Opus is pretty good. It doesn't really make that many mistakes, but that's what's happening. So it's gone off, and it's we just need your dulcet tones. Yes, thank you. Yeah, exactly. So so it's going off and doing it. See, just need me talking. That's it. I get it. Yeah, exactly. It's a very Geordie phrase, dulcet. My father used to use that. Hey, lad, I hear your dulcet tones. Oh, that's a bit Yorkshire, isn't it? So anyway, it's done the build. It's like, oh, cool. Now what it's going to do is do a smoke test. So what that means is it's actually going to go away and check what it's done. The reason is that in Kai, I actually said, check this. It's running that, and that's a Windows prompt to say, hey, you're about to run something that can connect to the internet. Are you okay with that? I'm like, yeah, cool. I don't care. Yeah, virus me. And I'm joking. I mean, it wouldn't do that. But what it does is it goes away. Now, I cut out here very briefly some confidential information that popped up. It was like a couple of seconds of the video, but the video was still doing stuff. Uh, and so it's run the smoke test, and it's like, cool, okay, that all worked. And here's the results of what I did. And I created it on port 2121 because I wanted to avoid it. Now, I didn't tell it to do that. It did that. And it did a couple of tests. It ran some tests of people that shouldn't be able to connect. And it ran a test of someone that should be able to connect. And now the FTP is actually running. That project is created and running. And this video is, like I say, 8 minutes and 44 seconds. So what I did was like, okay, let's follow the instructions that the AI has given me, and let's try logging into the FTP and test it out and see if it works. So we run the FTP prompt from Windows, and we say to it, open localhost on port 2121. We're connected to Valhalla. That's the name of my server, because I'm a crazy person, I like calling it. And that's the Windows machine I'm on now. And it uses the username and password that it says. It logs in, and there's that first file. So I've got the file back down to my machine, and I say get first file.md, which is a markdown document, and that puts it in the local folder. Okay. So now what I do is I quit, because it's a proper FTP server. And let's just see, there's the file that's come down from the FTP server. And let's just see the contents of the first file. Remember, I told it to create a markdown document. And there it is. I'm the title, I'm the body text. That is exactly what I told the AI to do. Good job. So that worked. And I think that is 8 minutes, including, me recording the video on Camtasia at the same time. And also giving it some instructions and getting a few things wrong, because, like I say, I accidentally clicked a button that said, should I do this? And I accidentally clicked the button that said, no, don't do that. So to the customer, if you're watching this, customer, and I'm not going to use your name, I believe that we're going to have a chat at some point, or somebody is going to have a chat with you about the hardware and the configuration, because as I said at the start of this, I am not doing anything particularly optimal on this setup deliberately. I don't want to give you a false impression of what works and what doesn't work. And I wanted to show you a real, kind of simple use case of Kai that actually was more complicated than the version that you had. So this customer said, create a simple hello world program, and it didn't work. Now, for me, it did. And that's not a hello world program. That is actually a relatively complicated app. It's an FTP server. So just to check what I mean by that, let's just go and have a look at the source code and see what it created. So let me go and share this one. You'll be pleased to hear I have actually changed my resolution on the screen, so it should be a bit easier to see the code. So here is the prompt and all the rest of it that did stuff. So that was the prompt that I asked it to do. Create a Delphi console project called, and then I told it what to do. And then what it did was it created this project here. And even though the version of Kai that I'm using is slightly later than the one that the customer has, and most of you have got, excuse me, I drank an energy drink before I started. I shouldn't have done that. It's full of gas. But here's the code, and this is the code that it generated. Now, I use this color scheme. It's called Dracula. And if you search for Dracula Delphi, in fact, let me just do that now, because a lot of people ask about it. Let me just pull it up here. The color scheme that I'm using is this one. So go to draculatheme.com/Delphi, and it's a similar thing. Now, I have tweaked a couple of settings. I've got my own settings. If anybody wants them, I'm happy to send them and tell you what they are, but it's just a registry thing. But This is the Dracula theme. I really like it because, for a start, coincidentally, it happens to be the same color scheme as Kai, which, of course, is nice. For that, I'm actually doing a whole stuff about Kai. But anyway, that's the color scheme I'm using. I like it. It's a bit kind of weird if you don't like pink, then maybe you'll be like, oh, that's too Barbie for me. I get that, but this is the app, and this is what it created. Now, it there's quite a lot of code. Okay. Now, if I type this out by hand, let's say I had a piece of paper next to me, or I had, someone telling me what to type. I'm pretty certain I couldn't type this in 8 minutes. Maybe I could. I'm a pretty fast typer, but getting to the point where not only did it create this app, but it also tested it and made sure that it was running. I think that's relatively impressive. Now it is targeting Windows 32-bit, but it could just as easily be 64-bit. Let's have a look at what it did. So it's got Indie in here, which is like the de facto thing to use for any comms. Indie's the one. It doesn't use Taurus TLS. If it did, you could have added OpenSSL and have secure FTP. It wouldn't have been that much harder, but I wanted the equivalent of a Hello World app that was a bit more complicated than just a simple Hello World app, so that I could show it working. And it maps paths, and it does all of the things you would want the FTP to do. Obviously, you would probably ask it to do some more security with users and things like that. But I did say simple FTP server, and that's exactly what it's done. And it gets the file size, so it's got some impressive capabilities. It handles starting, restarting. It's a proper FTP server, thanks to Indie, and thanks to Rene, who works on that. Rene LeBeau, who is the kind of chief maintainer of that. But it's great, isn't it? I mean, I think that's a reasonably impressive demo, to be honest. So let's go on from there, and let us have a look at a couple of other things. So when I said, let me see if I can get this right. I hate PowerPoint's controls. It's just so useless. Right, there you go. Come on, resize, and don't forget what size I told you to be. Oh, honestly, I bought a little clicker. I did this, I did that, and it doesn't care. PowerPoint is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm good. I'm good. I have 3 screens, and PowerPoint just says, no. I can show you one view on the screen, but not anything else. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, PowerPoint. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about. So first of all, I wanted to demo that little Kai app, so that you can go, okay, all right, well, Ian, you kind of proved your point. The RAD Studio is running locally on my Windows machine. The LLM was in the background, okay, and I can't remember which one I used, but it's running on my Mac for the local one. The cloud ones are quicker, okay. But what we said we do today is do a cage fight. Yes, I feel like I should make lots of loud noises and go and all the rest of it, because isn't that what these wrestlers and all these kind of cage fighting kind of guys do? And there are lots of posing and stuff. I've got some tattoos, but not quite as many as your average WWE or whatever they are called. And I'm sure that's a trademark phrase anyway. But let's have a cage fight. So I thought, let's have a comparison between, are local models any good? Now I don't have the best Mac. I will be upgrading later this year when the new models come out, but I've got a 48 gig RAM Mac. It is good. It is beefy and powerful, but it's not the best. Is it 48 gig? I'm not sure. I'll find out when we connect to it. But it's got a good processor, but it's not a Max, which is like the best processor. But an M5 Pro is a pretty smoking hot processor, but I get quite good performance out of it. But am I the only one, or am I imagining it? Well, the way that I test the response times and the thinking behind the let me just see what that question is. The server should be named Vulkan. Do you want to know something funny? My Mac is called Vulkan. I'm not joking. Uh, uh, there's my Mac on my remote desktop. It's called Vulkan. So there you go. Yeah. Valhalla and Vulkan. Oh, now I've lost my cursor. Where's my cursor gone? Oh, hello, cursor. There you go. Too many screens, dudes. So yeah, I do have Vulkan. You know, and as Anthony says, the first rule of Fight Club. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about Fight Club today. So there you go. So let's talk about what I'm going to do in terms of a test. Okay, so the test I always give an AI when I first start off is I ask it a question for which there is no definite answer. And I know the customer asked, "Who is the 14th president of the United States?" That's actually a definite answer. We know who that is. Um, there's no dispute about that. It's a known person. I don't know who it is, but I'm sure I can ask it in a moment. But the question I always ask is, who is the first king of England? Now, why do I ask that question? And this AI, which happens to be Quen 3.8, 27B, so it's 27 billion parameters, and it's new, it's trained relatively recently. It quite rightly realizes that the question I'm asking is a trick question. And I ask this question when I test a new AI to start off with. I am going to show you some other statistics in a moment, not just this one. This would be a bit lame, right? But I ask that question because I want to see how dumb the AI can be and how much it can think about things and reason them or go and check the facts if it needs to. And some of them, this is running in Olama, some of them will go away and do a web search to check the information. So in this case, it correctly spots and says, wait a minute, smart guy. There isn't a single unambiguous answer because a unified kingdom of England didn't exist for most of the early medieval period. Correct. It spotted that I'm trying to trick it. It is a trick question. Many of the AIs will give you the wrong answer if they're a bit dumb and not good at reasoning things. For coding, you want it to have very good reasoning skills, okay? So it says, let me think about this. It is one of these people, but it's probably Athelstan. That's how you pronounce that, Athelstan. King Athelstan or 927. That is correct. It took 9.6 seconds for it to think about that. Now that included loading that 27 billion parameter model. It is on MLX, so it is using the very special machine learning cores in an Apple device and doing it. So that was pretty good. It was quite impressive. Now I asked the same question from Muse Glimmer, which is the one from Meta. And it basically said, oh, look, I think he's asking me a trick question. This is its thinking area here. And it said, oh, okay, yeah, I think, what do you mean? What depends what you mean by England. Correct, you spotted it. If you ask a human this, they would get this wrong, probably, unless they're very good at history or well, they're a bit of a weirdo like me. And it'll go, okay, well, the first king of unified England is Athelstan, correct? But the first kings of England were probably the king of Wessex, which was Egbert, also correct, because Wessex was quite a large part of England, and England wasn't called England at that point. It was Mercia and Wessex and a few other things as well. And again, it thought for 12 seconds, okay, and it got 21.5 tokens per second. So it's not particularly fast, but don't forget, no usage fees, nothing. This is all local, doesn't cost me a single penny. Even downloading it doesn't cost me anything. It's a free library. Muse Glimmer, 30 billion parameters, very, very large library. The 3.8 one that I chose, 27 billion parameters. Now you expect more billion parameters is going to be better, and that is true, but that depends on another couple of things. So what I did was then I went away and I looked at a cloud version of an AI to see how well that would do in comparison to these local models. Now, with the cloud versions, you can set effort. In fact, you can do it with the local models as well. Lower effort, takes less strain and uses less tokens, but gives you a not so good answer. I nearly said a rude word. And here is Claude Sonnet. I had it set on low effort in the first question, asked it who was the first king of England. It didn't show any thinking because I don't think thinking was turned on. And it's like, wow, it's probably William the Conqueror. Incorrect. That is an incorrect answer. William the Conqueror was, in fact, the first king of England in some ways, okay? But he actually conquered a unified king of England in order to become the first king of England. So this is not correct. But if you mean the first king of unified England, then it was Athelstan. So it is actually correct, the low effort. But I think that the answer that it gives you there is probably not as good as you could have got for free. I think for free, it's either equal to or better than this low effort one. Once I put it on high effort, which then chomped away at my tokens budget that I have for Claude, it's got a Claude Pro account, which cost me like $20 a month or something. I put it on high effort. First of all, it took longer to answer the question. It came back and said, well, Athelstan is usually credited as the first king of England. He unified the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms and was crowned in 927. Great, good answer. And William the Conqueror is the answer most people usually mean when they think of the Norman king of England. Okay, but Athelstan came first as ruler of a unified England. So you can see there is a difference there on the same LLM asked the same question in the same way by the same person, and it gives you a different answer. That's important. This is one of the reasons why it's very difficult for me to demo AI live. First of all, it takes a lot of time. Secondly, it takes a lot of machine resources. So recording and streaming the video is very difficult. The third, reproducing the same result each time doesn't work. If I put that on low effort and ask that question 3 times, I won't always get the same answer. Mostly it's pretty much the same answer, but I won't always. If the question is more complicated, if I said to it, for example, create me a chat bot that imitates the Star Trek crew, for example, from the Star Trek original series, and use a voice generator to generate the speech. That's actually quite a complicated thing for it to do. And if I picked low effort, it would probably either do a pretty poor job of it, or well, maybe not with Sonnet, but if I chose something like Haiku, which is another version of Claude, but it will not give me the same answer every single time. It'll all be slightly subtly different because the way that the LLMs work is they're predictive. They work out what's the most likely next token or part of a word or fragment of a sentence to come next. And that predictive answer can change depending on how complex the question is. So the more complicated the prompt, with the low guidance, in other words, you haven't given it a plan and a set of instructions, the more likely you are to get an unsatisfactory result. Now, with high effort, it can go even more haywire in a good way, but it again, if you think that giving it the same complicated prompt is going to give you the same set of code every time, I can tell you based on my experience that is not what happens. It's a little bit random. Now, speed wise, Claude knocks everything into a cockpit. It is definitely much, much faster. Um, it's running on some ethereal network out there that is probably using more power for my answer than the whole of Dallas is or something like that. It's ridiculously powerful, and so it does come back with a very quick answer. However, the speed of the answer is not as quick as you would think. The local models that I am using for simple questions like this, it's actually comparable. The speed is, because the answer is actually quite straightforward to give. The tokens that it outputs there is quite small. Now, in terms of is it better or worse? It's up to you. Claude, if you can afford to pay for Claude, then I think Claude is good. So is Cursor. Cursor is not one that I personally use, just because I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on different services just for the sake of it. But Claude I use myself. Why not? I also use local models for things as well. The local models are great. I have machinery that can run it. Now, not everybody does have that, and in fact, we have to go out and purchase some hardware for people in the company to be able to use the right kind of models. We have our own problems as well. Some of the things that we work on code-wise, we do not want to go and get cloud services trained. Also, we have a problem with regional sovereignty. In other words, some of the people are working in countries where we, might be concerned about, the sovereignty of data being passed around and things like that. An English developer, for example, if they're working on something that's confidential and only should stay within the UK, so it's healthcare data or something like that, the last thing you want is it being sent up to some server in America or something like that. It would probably break some law. So there are some rules about that. This is where your local models come in very good. Now, there are some really great network appliances turning up that can do some very interesting things for local models. I saw one the other day. It had like four RTX 8090 and graphics cards in it, and it was like $3,000 or something like that. It's not cheap, and all it is basically an AI server, but it was giving out tokens that were like hundreds of tokens per second, which is very, very good if you're not familiar with it. For local models, expect less than 100 per second, unless you've got a very beefy Mac, like 128 gig of RAM or something like that, and Max M5 Max processor. But yeah, it's doable. So first of all, I showed you creating some code there and kind of getting it right, which is a good thing. Now, let's also look at my Olama setup. So I'm just going to connect to Vulkan. I wouldn't normally show you this, but since you asked about Vulkan, why not? This is Vulkan. So we're connected to my Mac. I think if I say on here, it should say hopefully, 48 gig of RAM, and it's a MacBook Pro M5 Pro. So it's pretty good. If I go on to the AI, where is Paul McGee? Paul, are you still in the chat? I hope you are. Okay. So what I got was Paul McGee, rather cheekily. I'm just going to close this for a second. Hang on. Paul McGee said to me, he was in the Australian Delphi User Group. He said, I would love to see maybe from when you're not streaming, how fast different size local models run on your setup and whether they are fitting fully into GPU memory or not. Maybe using your big flash Mac as well as with a PC. Okay, well, I tell you now, I can't demo it on the PC. The PC is just, it's all right, but it's not that great. Maybe all answering some particular query, like e.g., what is the utility of delegating an interface implementation to a property or some other Delphi specific question? Say that again. Oh, what is the utility of delegating an interface implementation to a property? And someone says you can also pay about $1,000 a month and have a GPU server. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So, yeah, what is the utility of delegating an interface implementation of a property? All right, let's ask that question then, because I'm not one to shy away from a challenge. So I asked this question 3 times from 3 different local models. Okay, and I started with Quen 3.8. This is a 27 billion parameter model. I'm going to show the details in a moment because that's on a different screen. This is actually on a Mac. And I asked it the question. So if I just go to the top, in the Delphi programming language, what is the utility of delegating an interface implementation to a property? Okay, and what it did was it thought for 5.8 seconds, right? 5.8 seconds, that's a local model, 5 seconds. I guarantee you could not type this answer with all this code in 5.8 seconds, even if you tried. I bet if someone offered you a chunk of money, you couldn't do it. This is Quen 3.8, which is notoriously good. This is a very recent model. It's not for faint-hearted. It's pretty meaty. This is the MLX version. So this is specially tuned for the Mac. But other than that, it is the proper 27 billion parameter model running on my 48 gig Mac. Now that Mac is a couple of $1,000s worth, but once I've paid that, I never pay anybody any money for using it. My voice is going. And so basic syntax of interfaces talks about the different benefits of it, etc., etc. Talks about aggregation, talks about adapter patterns. This is kind of advanced stuff, really. Having an adapter pattern for an interface, partial overrides, the constraints that you have, reading and writing and all the rest of it. So that's Quen 3.8. That's pretty good, I think. So let's look at this one. So this one is Muse Glimmer, 30 billion parameters. And again, if I go to the top, in the Delphi programming language, especially for Paul, it is, I don't know who Keyline is. Hello, Keyline. In the Delphi language, what is the utility of delegating an implementation? Now, what is interesting about this? 15.6 seconds it thought. So that's actually almost double the length of time for the Quen 3.8. Okay, and it does some thinking and it does some internet searching, and it had a little bit of a problem. Okay, so I asked the question again because I don't know what the API error was. Okay, I think it might be that .wiki told it to get lost. It's like, no, stop scraping me. But that's what .wiki's for. So I told it to look again, and it went, okay, well this time I'll try that. And it's like, nope, you can't do that. So I'm going to have a word with someone about that on the documentation team, because I think it's quite important that if your AI is asking questions, that it can look at .wiki to find that information. So Muse Glimmer, whatever tool it's using, is not working, even though it's still in Olama in the same way with web search turned on. So it thought for 3.5 seconds and went, okay, oh no, that's not working. So that didn't work. And then eventually it managed to get to the point where it found a Stack Overflow question, and somehow it came up with the answers. Now, the answers it gives are roughly the same as Quen 3.8. And those are good answers, I think, from a Delphi point of view. So if I was doing this in Kai and said to Kai, create me a file that has this implemented in it, then it would probably manage to do that. which I think is a good thing. But the fact that it stumbled a lot, the Muse Glimmer, even though it's in the same tool, I tried to make the test as fair as possible. I think it stumbled. So I asked it another time to give it another crack, just in case it was to do with, you know, the things that are going on. And eventually it came back and it said, "Yeah, I'll do it this way." I don't think that's impressive. I think it was okay. I think it was, it answered the question. But as I said before, the choice of model and the choice of difficulty level, or the level at which it thinks, makes a big difference to what it can do. And Ralph says he found that Claude fell over on class var x integer, y integer in a class definition. Y is also a class var, which can be confusing. I did not know that. It needed some time to fix problem in the code. Yes. So Claude, I think, without doubt, in my opinion, Claude is the de facto brain when it comes to AI at the moment. If you can afford it and you can pay for the tokens or pay for the subscription, because the Max 20X is $200 a month, I think, which is quite a lot of money for some people in some regions. Claude is definitely, it seems to do a good job. However, Anthropic are doing weird stuff and they keep changing what Opus can and can't do. There's some suggestion that they're deliberately crippling it. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I've seen people talking about it, and what they're saying seems plausible to me, but I don't know why they would do that. It could be they're using computing power for training, and I don't know, it is what it is. But anyway, so that's Muse Glimmer. Now, Muse Glimmer is quite respected, but it is meatier. It uses a lot more RAM than Qwen 3.8. Now, the last one that I thought about was, let's go and have a look at Gemma 4. Okay, so I asked Gemma 4 exactly the same question. Now, Gemma 4 is a little bit older. Gemma 4 is from Google, although I think they call themselves something else when it's Gemma, but it doesn't really matter. Gemma 4, we'll just call it the library. Again, this is a model that is tuned to work on the Mac. All of them, I tried to get the best comparable model, so it was a fair test. I asked Paul's question again. In the Delphi programming language, what is the utility of delegating an interface implementation to a property? That's a fair question. That's exactly the kind of question you might ask in Kai, or you might say, implement that for me. And it has a think about it. Again, 10.8 seconds. So almost twice as fast as the previous model, as the Muse Glimmer model. I'll look at, see how many parameters Gemma 4's got, but it's quite a lot. I think it's at least 20 something billion. And these are the thoughts of it. Okay, so this is its thinking. This is a deep, advanced, and highly relevant topic in object-oriented design. Correct. All of them thought the same thing. They realized it was not a straightforward question, and it was a gift, really, Paul. Thank you. But they all realized that this was the kind of question that if you ask this of a junior programmer in a Delphi interview, I think they'd struggle to answer it. I don't know about you, but I think they would struggle to answer that question. And if you asked me, I'd probably say, what do you mean? And get you to clarify the question a little bit more, because it is kind of not entirely obvious what we're asking here. I know what it means, but in an interview situation where I was a bit nervous and thinking, what on earth is he talking about? Especially he's Australian, so he'd have an Australian accent. Oh, now I've annoyed all the Australians. But you get what I'm saying. That I think if you gave this, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you gave this to a junior coder or an intern or something like that, I think they'd struggle to answer this question without Googling the heck out of it. So it goes away and says, yeah, okay, well, I need to think about this. And then it comes up with the answer. I like the little target symbol there. It's quite pretty how it answers it. But it comes off and it says, well, there's loose coupling and this and that, and how it works, conceptual mechanism, a summary of the benefits of it, again, different from the others. And then when should you use this? So actually what it didn't do here is it didn't actually really give you any code apart from that little bit there. Okay. Uh, I don't know whether that's a good answer that it's given there. You tell me, but I think that's a bit of a kind of I answered your question, what more did you want? You didn't say type code. Fair point. But it is not really giving me any examples apart from a few little one-liner things. Is it right? Yeah, I looked at it and then what it said seemed to be correct. But did it do a really good job of it? I don't know. I mean, the others, if you compare it to say Quen, Quen is way more comprehensive with lots more examples. And it's actually, by the way, Quen 3.8 understands modern Delphi syntax because it was trained after we made some changes to the language. So it is supposed to, I believe, understand things like inline vars, which is the thing that trips a lot of AI up is the inline vars because they just know that they exist, you know. I think that was good. So this is my feeling about this. It's completely subjective based on my own feeling, but I believe that Quen 3.8 27 billion parameter thinking for 5.8 seconds is in this little test that I did using Olama. It's the latest version of Olama on my Mac, which is a 48 gig Mac M5 Pro. 5.8 seconds hammers all of the others. It's 3 times as fast as the Muse Glimmer. Let's just go to the Muse Glimmer thing. So Muse Glimmer took 15 seconds, and Quen took 5.8 seconds and got the answer right and more comprehensive and spat out a whole bunch of code, which is a lot of tokens. And by the way, I have a context window set as normally when I load these, I'll allow it to set the defaults, but sometimes the defaults on the context window, which is its how much RAM it, you know, how much memory it's got to answer your question and think about it. I usually set the context window to as big as possible, depending on what the model is saying. But 3 times faster than Muse Glimmer. Now, if I go back to Gemma 4, it's still twice as fast as Gemma 4, and those are currently considered to be the kind of frontier models for local coding. So I checked the code, and you're welcome to try this yourself in Olama if you've got a machine. The code is correct. It didn't accidentally put some Python code in there or something like that, which sometimes it used to, you know, AI used to do, say, a year to 18 months ago. No, it's all good, valid Delphi code. What it said, the answer it gave is completely valid. So that's my kind of cage fight answer is if I was to choose and I was going to be coding all day, every day, and unfortunately nowadays, because of my job, I don't get to do a lot of hardcore coding. I do when I'm not working and when I'm at the weekend or if I'm in Brazil or somewhere in a hotel room. But and I'm not going to tell you what I'm coding, and I'm writing a book as well. But if I was to choose a local model and say, okay, I'm going to use it to death and run it overnight and run it for 5 days straight, Quen 3.8 would be my choice for sure. And I'm not the only one. If you go on YouTube and have a look at some comparisons out there, you'll find that a lot of people feel the same way. Let me just find what I was looking for. Hold on 1 second. Benchmarks out there. These are public benchmarks. They could be completely biased, but it talks about the parameters and what the max context is and all the rest of it. I set my context based on these kind of settings, but also on what I know my machine can and can't take. If I click on this, you can see that this is giving you the speed compared to the others and the capabilities he's got. It's pretty impressive. Quen really is out, as you would expect. Quen 3 is outstripping its own versions previously. This web page also does a comparison, and it also does a Muse Glimmer, which is like the darling of the local models, versus Quen 3.8 Max. Now, I can't run 3.8 Max; it's too big. I forget how many gigabytes it is, but it's massive. It's absolutely enormous. But you can just see here that Quen 3.8 is absolutely spanking Muse Glimmer 30 billion, completely, taking it away. And this page is LLM Stats, which is an independent organization. So these are relatively unbiased. I mean, look at this, more parameters than you look how many parameters there are. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Now that's the max version, 2.4 trillion. That's 2.4 trillion parameters. So this thing knows everything that's ever known, I reckon. It probably knows the future. It's got so many parameters. It knows what's going to happen in 5 years' time. Great. I liked it. I thought it was very good. And go to LLM Stats and look that up. That's their stuff. What was the other thing I have? Yeah, the Hugging Face, which is where you can get these models from. I'm just going to zoom it up so you can see it. So they benchmarked Quen 3.8 versus Nematron 3.5 and Muse Glimmer on 16 hard problems. Now, they've got an RTX 5090. That is a meaty graphics card. And they, saw how many tokens per second they got and all the rest of it. And Muse Glimmer generated 102,000 tokens generated. Lower is better. So in this comparison on Hugging Face, which is a very public place to get all your local models, Quen, lower is better. Quen whooped both Muse Glimmer and Nematron. And it talks about the setup. It talks about how many tokens per second they got out of this machine. Again, it's not a cruddy machine, so you would expect it to be faster than mine because they've got more oomph behind it. But look at this. I mean, Nematron 3.5 generated 216 tokens per second on a local model. That's crazy. And but Quen 3.8 did 171 tokens per second. Well, both of these are comparable to Claude. These are almost as well. How much VRAM did it use? Well, 17.5 gigs versus 25 gigs. So all of these here are capable of running actually on my own machine because I have enough a unified RAM to run these on there. And you've seen a Quen 3.8 and how fast it ran in 5.8 seconds. What does it cost to run? It talks about cost in terms of how much time it takes and things like that. Total sweep time, lower is better. Well, Muse Glimmer again, very poor. I think Meta needs to go and have a look at that and see what they can do about it. Could just be that it's a really capable model, but it took a long time. And Nematron there. Where it did well, it talks about what bits it did and what bits it didn't do quite so well. So it's impressive. They've got some videos on there as well. I definitely, if you've not been on Hugging Face before, you definitely should go and have a look. And Malcolm says, "Good morning, 4 a.m. in Townsville, Australia. Just popped in to say hello. We'll watch the replay later." Well, Malcolm Chain, I know who he is. If you've not still watching, hello, mate. And watch me on the replay later, and I'll wave to the other Australians who are not awake at 4 a.m., including Paul. Paul, if you're asleep, you missed all the fun. So that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Now, the other thing I was going to talk about today, which I mentioned, was let's have a look. MCP. Okay. So MCP is basically a communications protocol for communicating with other stuff. And I'm going to leave the screen shared at the moment because, oh, by the way, I asked Google's AI to compare the performance, just because why not? I mean, because are they biased? That's the question. Because they have their own models, and they pointed out quite rightly, Claude is proprietary frontier cloud architecture. Yes, it is. Uh, I personally think Claude is really quite amazing. You can do some incredible things. I know several MVPs who are fully agentic. They do AI development and almost nothing else, and they swear by Claude. But I know some others that use anti-gravity and some stuff there, and they use Cursor, I think, was the other one that came up quite a lot as well. But Claude, I like Claude. I think Claude is great. I even have. I don't know whether I've got it running. Yes, I do have it. I even have Claude Code running there as well. So Claude Code, quite interesting, what it does. So it's saying here, what's the difference? Well, 3.8, 27 billion open weights model. That means anybody can go and find out what it does. Its default reasoning is extra high. So you actually, if you want to, you can turn it down to medium or low if the questions you're asking it aren't very hard and you just want a fast answer. I didn't find that necessary, even with the default extra high. It worked fine for me with Olama. I could have used LM Studio or OMLX, but I just had to use Olama because I wanted all the models in the same AI hookup. And it also talks about Muse Glimmer, and it basically says what the speed and efficiency is. Muse Glimmer is highly optimized for 24 gig VRAM environments. Well, that's what I have on my Mac, and I didn't find it was that great, to be honest. Sorry, but I didn't. Maybe I need to tune it or something like that. That might be a thing that happens. Quen 3.8 generates tokens rapidly on robust consumer hardware, which I think you could describe my Mac as that. Around 171 tokens per second on specialized setups. Now, I won't get that speed. There's no way I would get that speed. I'm probably going to be lucky to get more than 100 tokens per second. I would imagine it's probably 80. But again, it's free, and I can leave it to do stuff, and it doesn't matter. I'm doing something on my Windows machine and get it generating stuff on my Mac. Claude, well, Claude runs in the cloud and it's highly efficient, but ting ting, it costs you money. So, horses for courses. Embarcadero does not have a horse in this race. We don't provide an AI LM. We thought about it. You pick your own, you bring your own key, and you can choose what you like. So whatever works for you, that's the toy. Okay, so MCP servers. Well, let's talk about MCP for a second. So let me get this up here. So first of all, MCP allows you to get your AI hookup and Claude and Kai to do stuff that you can't otherwise do. So I'm going to just zoom this up so you can see it. Okay, and codecs resets. And in Kai, let me just see if I pull it up. In Kai on the options page, bearing in mind that I'm showing you a version of Kai that is going to be released but has not been released yet. There is a section, you've seen this ACP registry. If this is new to you, you missed yesterday's demonstration, but the next version of Kai should be including this ACP registry. And that means that you've got a massive choice of AI engines to hook up to, including Grok. We get asked about Grok quite a lot. The Grok build is enabled. You pick one and you can say new conversation, and it will literally pick it from this ACP registry if you haven't already got it installed. Does it install for you the necessary glue to make it work, and off it goes. So if you're going to use, for example, Kimi or Kilo or something like that, Kimi, which Moonshot, is very popular nowadays, a big competitor for Anthropic and Kai, I have to say. Kimi does amazing models on the cloud. They have a multi-trillion model on the cloud. It is frightening how powerful that thing is. But if you sign up to Moonshot and get Kimmy, then you can install it, and it will work with Kai in the coming version. We don't know when it's going to be. We're waiting for some approvals. But there is an MCP servers page, and I can add MCP servers in there. It literally is, pick up the tag. There's a command for start, and it tells you what tools this MCP server supports, and any environment variables and any arguments. And why would you need to know about that? Well, because all of these are available to you. So let's say, for example, you're using Kai and you want to have it linked to Atlassian. Okay, now IDEA and Embarcadero use Atlassian internally. If you've ever raised a support ticket, sorry, a quality portal ticket, you'll find that you're using the Atlassian customer-facing interface. We don't like it. Lots of people don't like it. Hopefully, they'll listen to some feedback and improve it, because it's a little bit, it works and it is good. But my personal feeling is, I'm a professional graphic designer. I've got all these books there for a reason, and that interface bugs me. But we're stuck with it. It is unfortunately, something we can't do anything about. We can customize it a bit, but only really for graphics. But anyway, if you raise a QP ticket, then Atlassian is the thing you interface with. Jira, very, very popular bug control and project management software. We use it very heavily internally. Everything goes on Jira, and Confluence, which is a kind of I don't know what you'd call it really. It's like a document-centric, bug-centric, project planning-centric server thing. I don't know how else you would call it. OpsGenie, I don't have to deal with that, and other projects. But you can install the Atlassian server and then interface Kai with Atlassian. So you get Kai to work on tickets and update the tickets via the MCP server. So as you pulled down a job ticket from Jira, you could do something in Kai, it fixes it, and then you progress your thing in there. Now, I don't use this, so I don't know exactly what it can do, but I know that's one of the things it's capable of doing because I've read it. Cloudflare, you name it, Google MCP servers, GitHub MCP, so you can do all sorts of things like pull requests and searches and things like that. Again, you could link it into Kai where it's appropriate to do that. Superbase, Proxyman, latest MCP, Skycloak, Austin, Lunadata, Talk Portal. I have no idea. Oh, TikTok. Oh my word. Manage TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube accounts. Ooh! So you could use AI to generate your TikTok posts. Yeah, I am not doing that. I let the marketing people do that if they want to do that. But this is what it is. So this site is called mcpservers.org, and there is a couple that are Delphi important, shall we say. So the first one is from a guy that is going to be with me on Friday. Okay, and this is Frank Lauter. So his site is delphiprofi.de. I'm going to put that in the captions on the screen. Let me just say this and create a caption so you can go there. Delphi Profi. At the bottom of the screen, there you go. So if you go to that, he's using ASP, but it is what it is. But if not, just go to delphiprofi.de, and he's got a bunch of MCP servers. Now, I should point out, in all fairness, there are lots of other people that have got MCP servers. TMS have got some really great MCP servers. So do N Software. If you saw earlier in the year, I had N Software on as guests, and they have free MCP servers as well. Great. I really like N Software stuff. Their projects, their code, and their components are always really beautifully crafted internally. If you look at the code of an N Software thing, like they've got a secure I forget what it is now. It's oh, I'm gonna kick myself. But anyway, the secure sockets, secure sockets, web sockets um, component. If you look at the code, it's just so beautifully crafted. You know, as developers, when you look at someone's project and you see, you know, some code in there, you really kind of get inside someone's head. You can understand that person just by reading their code, and that they're in that ilk, you know, of people that I admire them for their code. Confluence. So Anthony says Confluence, a place to lose documents really easily, so they can never be found again. Yes, exactly. That's where they should put all these files that nobody ever wants to publish or do want to publish. So anyway, Frank has got a bunch of there, and I'm really kind of talking about this just because it's an example. Google Delphi MCP servers. There's a lot out there, but Frank has created all these with his AI, and he's coming here on Friday and doing his Vulcan salute with me because he is a nerd as badly as I am about Star Trek. But he's got all sorts of things. So, you know, creating projects, PAS indexer, Word, MCP. So if you want to try Microsoft Word, this MCP server does it. Drive up Microsoft Outlook. Oh, you want to send emails from your AI? There you go. You can do that via Outlook if you've got Outlook. Jira, if you want to do the Atlassian stuff, then you can do it. Everything MCP, that works with the Everything tool. If you've ever seen Everything before, everything is very cool. So if I say something like interbase like that, it will instantly find every single file I've got on my server that it has got the word interbase in it anywhere. It's instant. It makes Windows Explorer look like it's completely broken, which it is, in my opinion. But anyway, everything MCP. So it works with the Void Tools Everything API. It's great. Table, Blogger, and all the rest of it. Great. And Frank, really, you know, he's one of the first to get these things out there. Since then, other people have come along. One of the people that has come along is, make sure I'm putting the right window over here, and that is this one. This is a blog post from my colleague Fernando, who I will be seeing in 2 weeks' time. So go to blogs.embarcadero.com. And there is a blog post about this MCP server that he has created. Now, this is fully open source. If you've got Interbase, it does all of this stuff, okay? Security auditing and configuration and security policy, etc., etc. So blogs.embarcadero.com. Go there and read all about it. It's open source. You can put it down. Ralph says, is BYOK a term? Yes, bring your own key. What it means is that if you have an account with someone on the AI providers, you bring your API key or your access tokens. So some of them use OAuth. So this coming version of Kai will pull up an OAuth window if you've got OAuth enabled, which you should, by the way. And it'll do the two-factor authentication for you. And then after that, Kai can talk to that AI. But that terminology has become kind of the de facto standard now. Bring your own key. That is actually something that's now a topic. I've heard it. Several IDEA companies use it, so maybe it's just something we in IDEA have made popular. But I've heard other people talk about it. But anyway, MCP. He's done a lot of work in it. It's very, very good. And if you want to get it, you can get it for free. It is on the Embarcadero GitHub. So to go to github.com/Embarcadero and then look for Interbase MCP and you'll find it in there. It's all there. If you use Interbase, it is completely free and ready to go. And the blog post explains all about it, and there's a very good readme as well. Fernando, great guy, based in Brazil. Good friend of mine. I get on very well with him, but he's also extremely talented. He's one of our pre-sales engineers. If I forget what they call them, So I think they call them pre-sales consultant or something like that, but or sales consultant. But anyway, he's a technical dude, rather than they sell you a version of Delphi or something like that. Excuse me, but he um, he will. I'm going to stop sharing. Hang on, like that. He might be one of the guys that you talk to. Let's say you're thinking about implementing Delphi, and you should. By the way, it is on the International Space Station. We can't tell you everything that is used, but NASA use it up there above us. Zooming around the planet is a bunch of Delphi programs, not just one. Several Delphi programs are running on there for national security reasons. Please don't send me to jail. We can't tell you exactly what it is, but we have got a blog post coming up that talks about that implementation and some of the things that they've got going there. But they do use Delphi. The NASA use Delphi. Why do they use Delphi? Well, weirdly enough, it's almost like the perfect case study. Um, Delphi is solidly reliable. It requires no um, uh, dependencies. Uh, is very typical for people to have a Windows XP version of a program and they upgrade Windows XP to whatever and keep going until eventually one day they've got Windows 11 and they're like, oh, we never updated our app. It's a pain for us because obviously we want you to be using the latest version of Delphi, but it's a fact that you can take a Delphi 7 program and probably run it today, and that is unusual, very unusual amongst the languages out there. There are very few programming languages that will work like that, and Delphi is one of them. And of course, that is Ralph says one exe to rule them all. Yes, exactly. Oh dear, Lord of the Rings, LOTR. Actually, I'm more of a Star Trek nerd, as you can see, but yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that the reliability and the portability and stuff like that. It's almost certainly the kind of choices that anybody, not just NASA, but Delphi 5 even. Yeah, there are Delphi 5 programs out there. I know. NASA and lots of other people choose Delphi, and I get it. We're not the sexiest language in the world, but we are modern. People always say, "Oh, I've heard people say it's outdated or whatever." No, that's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Generics, yes, does that. Inline variables, that was something we added. It's a language that's living and it's breathing and doing stuff. Do we have as many users as we had back when Borland first introduced Delphi? No, absolutely not. You can argue the lots of reasons why that happened. But there are millions of people, millions plural, that use Delphi. Many of them use Delphi CE, the Community Edition, and we've just released a new version of Delphi Community Edition and C++ Builder Community Edition. But many of them are using everything from Delphi 5, as Ralph said, to Delphi 7, to Delphi 10.3. A lot of people using Delphi 10. Lots of people using 13 last financial year. We're the tip of the spear in programming languages. Well, we're usually number 10 or 11 on certain charts and things like that as well. Sometimes people chart us based on other things and we're like way down. I get it. Some people, rate us much more highly. In the top 10 languages that are out there, someone was saying, oh, yeah, but Object Pascal, Delphi is really old. Well, in the top 10 languages that there were, we were the fourth youngest. So, like C++, older than Delphi, Python, older than Delphi, JavaScript, older than Delphi. Yeah, but you never hear anybody say, oh, JavaScript's old. I mean, I'm sure they do when they're trying to debug JavaScript and things aren't working. But yeah, it's, it is what it is. But why do people choose Delphi? Well, if you are Delphi people watching this, which I'm sure you are, then you know why people choose Delphi. And Anthony says we're still quite high in TIOB, even though they don't like us. Actually, they do like us. I corrected them when they were rude about us one time, and they actually came back and said, "Sorry about that. We didn't really mean it that way." I think one time they called us dinosaurs, and I proved that actually their implication was incorrect. You know, you can pick a fight with me if you like, but you know, I do this stuff all the time. So anyway, it is what it is. I hope you found today interesting. For the customer's benefit, that I saw talking about local models, I hope I've shown that actually you can use local models. I believe there's something not set up quite right somewhere. I can't say until I have a look at it. Um, but uh, you know, you can get reasonable performance out of local models. Are they better than Claude or something like that? No, of course not. You know, you're talking about a data center there that is worth billions, not millions, billions of dollars. So Claude is, of course, going to be more performant. It's designed for extreme performance and extreme competence, but you are getting your code going up to a cloud server, and so you're reliant on internet connections and things like that. I have a very fast internet connection here. It's a 2.5 gig symmetrical fiber connection, um, and you know, for some people, the price of Claude per month for the highest model is a lot of money. I know some people say, oh, it's only $200 for the top end. Yeah, but you know, for some people, that's a big chunk of change that they don't want to be paying every month. But are local models usable? Yes. Are they always going to be the answer? No, I'm not going to lie to you. You know, by the way, for code completion, which I haven't shown yet, I should show that tomorrow. But for Ghost Text, I actually use GitHub Copilot. It only sends small fragments of code up to GitHub Copilot and then fills in the gap. That's what FIM means, which is what Copilot does. I found that to be the most cost effective. It's $10 a month, and it's easier than having a local model to do that. There are local models like Sushi that will do it, but this for me, Copilot was just a no-brainer. It just works. Anyway, that's it. I will see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow, hopefully, depending on what happens, hopefully I'm going to show you Pasclaw. If not, it's going to be a short session. A Delphi native competitor for Cursor and Claude Code, possibly. And plus, I'm going to try and vibe code a connection to BusyBar's API. BusyBar is that thing just there behind me, and does all sorts of exciting stuff like that. And doesn't really do much, but if I turn it on to here, I can get it to what can I get it to do here? Show times, and it's got a display. It's a cool little device, and it's got an API, but the API is, of course, not for a Delphi thing, so we're going to do that. Anyway, thanks a lot. I will see you tomorrow. Have fun. Bye-bye.